Hello, and welcome back to the Pitlane Collective Podcast. This is episode 18. We've made it to 18. How are you, mate?
We're nearly at 20, because I'm good at maths.
Yep. Two more to go. Two more to go.
And that's the goal.
Yeah.
I'm good, yeah. Are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. I enjoyed watching the Grand Prix this weekend for what feels like the first time in a while. Well, I enjoyed Monaco, but it's been few and far between this season. It was
a good one, if not predictable. Relatively.
Yes. Yeah.
So, with that being said.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's like I'm maybe slightly biased. I just love like the Canada circuit, the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. It's just like I don't know what it is about it. And I was doing a little bit of prep for this episode and kind of digging into stuff a little bit just around the track. And I'll tell you one thing, I didn't realize how many Grand Prix have actually been held there. Like, I think it's top 6 for circuits. Like, only 5 other circuits have held more Grand Prix, which is wild when you think about it.
Yeah, it is. But as you mentioned, it's a great track.
It is. It's
a really cool track. It's got like everything, hasn't it? It's got like everything you could want in a racetrack.
It's quite like it feels quite technical, and I suppose technically it's a street circuit, but it doesn't feel like a street circuit in the way that the others do. I think it's got those like it'll punish mistakes. It's got those areas of like grass and things like that you don't really see in new street circuits. Like if you think to like, I don't know, Jeddah or Miami, or I think, it's just either a wall or concrete runoff. Canada's got like a mix of everything. And it's just, there's a lot of character to that.
Is it not like in the middle of a park?
Yeah. So I believe it's built on, it's on an island.
Was it reclaimed?
I think the island itself was built from like rubble from building like either a subway or a railway or something in Canada. So it's sort of reclaimed. I don't know, but I believe it's a park the rest of the year.
There's like fishing lakes in the middle of it and whatnot, isn't there?
Yeah, it's wild when you see the helicopter shots. Because it's just like it's the racetrack with a little bit around it, and then just water everywhere.
So, obviously, when it's not a race weekend, which is most of the year, what is that track? What is it?
I think it's still used as a racetrack, but it's also like it's a park.
Well, then I'm calling bull on the street
circuit. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like they're not streets.
No,
like I mean, maybe a couple of them are used, but not really. I mean, there's certain section. It looks like a purpose-built racetrack.
Yeah, it does.
More than something like Australia. Or...
Be cool if they used it as like a cycle path or something in the rest of the year. Yeah,
just go and get your laps in and try and beat Verstappen's times. It's I just think it's funny that like I feel like when you talk about like legendary circuits and you get into like, I think there was a news story that we talked about a few months ago about like historical tracks in Formula One and that sort of stuff. It's funny because I feel like Canada rarely pops into your mind, but it is one of those. It's
it's one of them, isn't it? When it comes around in the calendar, you're like, oh, nice.
Yeah, Canada. Yeah. But I'm just talking about in terms of like the history of the sport and stuff, because it is top 5 as far as I'm aware. I think it's the only tracks that have held more Grand Prix than Canada are Monza, Monaco, Silverstone, and Spa. And I think it's just gone past the Nürburgring in number of Grand Prix. So it is top 5. So like it's above things like Suzuka and like, I mean, is Singapore an iconic track? I guess like it's above them. I wonder, is it a bit of a classic really, that just kind of an underrated classic,
goes under the radar a bit?
Yeah, because 42 Grand Prix isn't something to sniff about. And I think as well, it's largely remained unchanged. I think what you see, when I say like Silverstone's held like 57 Grand Prix or whatever it'll be, 58 this year, I think it's obviously held. I think like the circuit layout changes.
It's changed a few times.
Kind of. And I mean, even the Nürburgring's held 41 Grand Prix, but I believe half of them or a significant chunk of them were on the actual Nordschleife. So, yeah, like Canada, by contrast, hasn't really changed. I think they added, after Senna's crash, fatal crash in 94. I should get that right, really. I think it was 94. They added a chicane just after the hairpin, on that long back straight. And I think initially, just after that hairpin was the old starting straight as well. They used to start there. There was a pit lane down the side, which is mental when you look at the aerial images because there is no room there at all. I think the track kind of came back in on itself a little bit. And turn one changed a little bit. And I think the radius of a couple of the corners changed. But apart from that, it's the same track.
The same.
You'd recognize it if you drove around the first layout.
Yeah.
Which is pretty special, to be honest. So yeah. Is it a bit of a modern classic, or not even a modern classic? Is it a classic that's just underrated?
It's obviously the cyclists in the area don't want their lap to change.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. They're determined to get down to that Formula One time.
Yeah. So can we just go back? Did you say they used to do Formula One races around the Nordschleife? The whole lap.
Yeah.
They're like 25 minutes a lap or something.
Back in the day, we'll have to do an episode on this. Maybe I'll try and dig some stuff up for next week. But back in the day, a lot of the circuits that we know today would have been like tiny. Like I think lap times back in the day would be like 10 minutes around some of the older tracks. Like if you look at like historic Spa, for example, it sort of starts on the Spa that we know and love today, and then just disappears off into the hills, and you're driving past people's houses at like insane speeds. So yeah, they did used to do the Nordschleife, and then obviously someone went, "Is this safe?"
Although on the Sims, it is really fun driving a lap in a Formula One car on that track.
Yeah, maybe we need to do like a special episode and like
Very
record
fun.
ourselves doing something like that.
Let's
trying to make it round. But yeah,
I'll make it round, just slow,
just very slowly, hitting most of the walls. I think I managed to hit most of them. But maybe we should do it with the classic tracks. I wonder if there's a way to try and get hold of like the first layout of Canada and just compare it and see how different it is. But yeah, so they did used to race the Nordschleife, but yeah, there's more Grand Prix now been held in Canada than there were at the Nürburgring.
There you go.
One of the things as well, I just wanted to point out really quickly, I feel like when you see shots of Canada, and especially like obviously when you see onboards and things like that, and kind of going back to the point I mentioned before about grass and things, I feel like the track is really distinctive.
Yeah.
Like,
there's elements to the track that if you just seen that element, you'd know the track instantly, wouldn't you?
Yeah, like it's got loads of character. Like it's recognizable, and you see the shots of them coming through the park, or flying back up that long back straight and things like that, and you're like, yeah, it's kind of immediately.
Yeah, that like hairpin onto that big long straight, so like iconic, isn't it?
Yeah, like the Wall of Champions at the end, everything. Like, and what I was gonna say is like I feel like it's a redundant question, really, because we all know the answer. But is that what's missing in the new kind of wave of circuits that we're getting in Formula One now? And is that why they feel so like kind of lackluster? Because Jeddah is essentially a car park, and there's not, I mean, it's unique in that it's flat out and it's fast, but there's not that much recognizable going on there, like in terms of the way it looks or anything particularly unique. And then the same with like Miami, really. I mean, yeah, they've tried to put in like the fake hairpin and fake marina at the hairpin and all that sort of stuff. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's funny. I feel like that's the case, that there's not a lot of character in the new circuits that are coming in.
It's almost like the new circuits are a second thought, and it's everything else built around it.
Yeah, or I don't know. Maybe the standards, the safety standards are more push you more towards a certain circuit now. I don't know, but it's just when you think back to like historical tracks, like I guess like you've got Canada with the Wall of Champions and stuff. You think back to Suzuka with like circuits with like you say the corner name and people recognize it. You've got Eau Rouge and Radion. You've got like 130R. You've got, I think it's 10-8 in Istanbul in Turkey. Like recognizable, like, Maggots and Beckett's at Silverstone, all that. And
seen that.
yeah, we've been there. And like, you just, I don't know, like, what corners do you remember in Jeddah? Like, what corners do you remember in Miami, really? Like,
I suppose it's kind of a two-way thing, though, because history builds that kind of thing, doesn't it? So, for instance, we went to Silverstone and we stood looking at them corners, and it was like, wow, like all the stuff that's happened here.
Yeah,
it's like the corner's famous because there's so much history on it.
Yeah.
So I suppose it's like the newer tracks won't have that yet, but I still understand your point where the new tracks aren't almost nearly as exciting.
Yeah,
some of the other ones, like the classics.
Yeah, I don't know. There's certain circuits that kind of like fade together, and I suppose I'm probably going to contradict myself now because there's circuits like Abu Dhabi and Yas Marina, things like that, where they look distinctive, but they're not necessarily great tracks. So yeah, I don't know. It's a funny one. But I returning back to the point at the start of this section, I do think it's funny that Canada kind of goes under the radar that much as like a classic track, because it has earned its place there. Yeah. It skipped a few years since it started, and I think it was 67, but like, yeah.
Be interesting to see the drivers' opinions on it and how highly they rated on the calendar.
Yeah, true. Because there's certain circuits that are drivers' circuits, aren't there? And maybe it doesn't kind of fall into that. You don't hear people sort of raving about how great the track is. But still, I'm going to lead the campaign justice for the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
I'll get some T-shirts printed.
Yeah. Let's get it to the right standing that it deserves after all these years. But yeah, that's a little bit of a kind of background into the track, I guess.
I'll tell you what, it's funny you should mention this because the race this week was actually on that track.
I was going to say,
that's a good segue.
What a coincidence that we did all that prep and they held a race there as well. It's just, it was meant to be. And so before we get into that race, we have a new feature, don't we? We have a new section that we're introducing.
Which I'm quite excited about, and it could either go great or down like a lead balloon, but I'm still excited about it.
Yeah, it could go horribly wrong. The likelihood is it probably will, but who knows? We have got the wheel of death. The wheel of death. It's just instant death. Just spin a wheel. Now we've got the wheel of support. And essentially, me and Josh are going to take sides. One of us is going to support and one of us is going to criticize. We're going to spin the wheel and it's going to pick a driver for us. And then we're going to have to blindly criticize them or blindly support them. And depending on who it lands on, it could
be quite difficult.
Yeah.
You might just have to make stuff up.
Yeah. If it's someone who we didn't even see in the race. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to set my little screen recording thing going on here so we can show you guys sort of visually in the podcast. I believe we are now recording. I hope so. Anyway, are you ready? Shall we spin the wheel? And
I was born ready.
Let's blindly criticize or support someone in the Canadian Grand Prix for their performance. So the first spin that we're going to do, I'm going to criticize them and you're going to support them. And then we'll just do a bit of a piece and then we'll go again. So the first driver that we are going to support or criticize is
this is easy. Hallelujah.
Would you like to go first?
I'm praising him.
Yeah. This is going to be tough, mate. I know. I don't know if you want to take a minute or two. Yeah.
No, I'm okay. What is there to say about Max Verstappen? He's just won his 41st race of his relatively young Formula One career, 100th for the Red Bull team. Absolutely dominant this weekend again. I mean, yeah. What more do you want? What else do you want to say on Max Verstappen? He's the best. He's the best at the minute. And that's... To be honest, I just want to get this over and done with so you can criticise him.
I've got something to say about Max Verstappen.
Go on.
There was a chance for a Grand Slam there. He didn't even get fastest lap, mate. I mean, I know that like
he wasn't even trying.
People are praising him as like this generational talent and stuff like that.
He is.
But you know, I think the Red Bull, that car, you know, I could probably put my dog in it and he'd win. And I think Max just, you know, okay, he got pole. And he did win the race by 10 seconds. And okay, I think he did lead every lap and stuff like that. But, you know, is that good enough, really? I mean, I want to see dominant performances by dominant drivers, and I just don't think it was that. Plus, also, he did kill a bird, which is just, you know, in terms of like wildlife conservation and things like that, I just think that's really irresponsible.
Well,
you should have probably forfeit the win for that reason alone. So yeah,
that bird actually criticised his mum. So some would say he deserved it.
Yeah. God, that was okay. Well, we've got that one.
You know what I didn't think about? You know that clip you've just done? That could be taken so out of context for you meaning all those things you said.
Yeah. So if anyone's going to clip this, don't clip that. But that was quite fun. Knowing my luck now, it's gonna because we're gonna swap now.
Yeah,
and you're gonna criticize and I'm gonna support. It's gonna give us someone like De Vries or something, isn't it? Let's go again.
Oh no!
Oh, okay. It's given us Nico Hulkenberg. It's an interesting one, that, because there are actually points to sort of go one way or another. I'll start off then because I'm going to support him. I'm going to blindly support him, but actually it's not too hard this time because he qualified P2. I mean, the dude qualified P2 in a Haas. Wet quali, admittedly, and the stewards very unfairly, clearly I think they just wanted to hold him back from being, he was clearly going to dominate the race, so they moved him backwards, gave him a grid penalty, started P5, finished P15, but it's qualifying where it really counts, isn't it? And I think he's one of the best talents out there.
Right. So, qualified in second. Didn't though, did he? Because he was caught speeding about 200 mile an hour faster than he should have been under a red flag, which was tremendously dangerous, by the way. Could have killed several groundhogs. And then in probably, I would say, the second or third best car on the grid, binned it and went all the way down to 15th. Joke. And he's got a name like Hulk. He should be bossing it. And he was less like Hulk, more like Bruce Banner.
He was smashing the field. He was doing a Hulk smash, and then clearly I think, maybe I don't know, maybe he was just trying to let people have a bit of a head start, and he got a bit too carried away. He was probably trying to protect more of the wildlife from like the Max Verstappen, who's just lethal. So maybe he slowed down to try and help out there a little bit as well. I think he's just a good guy. He's a legend.
That wasn't the case when he was caught speeding under red flag, though, was it?
No, but we all know wildlife doesn't come out in the rain.
No.
All the groundhogs will be hiding in the burrows, so.
Some would say they might like a drink. So.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that one. But maybe he was splashing them then as he drove past. I don't know.
Right. Shocking.
Part of me is tempted to just keep going with this all the way through the grid and just completely bin off our driver ratings. We have, obviously for the past few episodes, we've race recaps, we've done quite serious reviews of stuff, but this is quite fun. Should we do one more final driver to round it out? And then we'll get on to the very serious business of the driver ratings. So I'm going to criticize and you are going to support Charles Leclerc, who, I mean, I say he's my favourite driver. And he is. So I'm right. But yeah, just a bit of a really bad weekend. I'm not even going to exaggerate too much on this one, to be honest, because genuinely, like, there was a bit of a recovery drive going on later on, but he shouldn't have had to do a recovery drive. He got knocked out in Q2. There's points about Ferrari didn't put him on the right tyres. I kind of think he should have put his foot down a bit harder and said, no, I want to come in for the slicks now. For context, obviously everyone went out on inters at the start.
You're criticising him. You realise that? I
am criticising him because I think
it sounds very sympathetic.
Yeah, okay, I'll go harder. I think he should have put his foot down. I think he's been a bit of a pushover with Ferrari, and Sainz, on the other hand, is throwing a bit more of a tantrum and kind of getting his own way a little bit more. So yeah, qualified, what was it, P11 in a Ferrari. I mean, him and Ferrari turned up this weekend and went, yeah, we should be able to get pole. P11's just really, really poor.
It's only an extra one, though, isn't it?
It is. And if you add them together, he could have been on the front row. And if we're going to do numbers like that, but sadly, we ain't.
I think qualifying aside,
just also, this is, as a Leclerc fan, it's just a bit boring in the race. Just kind of.
You stopped me mid-flow to say he was boring.
Yeah, just was there. I don't know. Dull.
I think qualifying aside, which everyone makes mistakes. Right? Everyone makes stupid mistakes. Ferrari are usually, they're usually so reliable, and everyone's allowed one. I think in the race it was a superb drive. I think Ferrari for once got their strategies. Not for once. So did I say for once? Again, they got their strategies spot on, and it was perfect from them. Started on the mediums, chose not to take a cheap pit stop on the safety car. Genius. Everyone else was like, oh, we're going to dive in. Ferrari were like, no, we're going for track position. Wow, what a call. Unbelievable strategies. What more do you want?
You didn't have to blindly support Ferrari,
I just think it's a package. And obviously Charles Leclerc was at the forefront of that. So
yeah, fair dues. He did it. Yeah. I mean, I just stopped myself agreeing with you because he was terrible.
I've just stepped on a lot of my notes from the driver ratings. But,
That's all right. We'll fly through them. But that was the wheel of support. I quite enjoyed that. I think that's gonna.
It's a good laugh.
Yeah, it's gonna return. Let us know if you guys enjoyed it as well. Maybe it will make a return, because that was some good fun. But let's get into the very, very serious business of driver ratings. And we'll smash through these as quick as we possibly can. Let's start at the top with the washed. Just I don't even know what to say about him. Max Verstappen, who finished first. I've actually, I'll take back everything I said. I gave him a 9 out of 10. I've said he was pretty flawless. I have said he didn't get the fastest lap. Which, I think in years gone by, when it wasn't worth a point, you probably wouldn't knock him a rating for that. But I don't know, maybe he could have pushed a little more at the end there. But I've kind of said it should be a 9.9 really out of 10. But yeah, I've given him a 9. How did you rate him?
I also gave him a 9.
Nice.
For very much the same reasons. Said 41st win of his career, which is just unbelievable when you consider everything. The 100th for Red Bull, which again is quite the achievement for them, because they're, in terms of teams, they're a relatively young team, aren't they?
Yeah. I believe it's the 200th win for a car designed by Adrian Newey as well.
Well, there you go.
That's that. Some nice round numbers there.
But yeah, nice. Well, 41.
Yeah, true. Should have lost it really.
Yeah. Yeah. What more can you say? You've run out of nice words to say about Max Verstappen, which
I know. I feel like we're going to have to probably start just copying and pasting this section into every race review.
Yeah.
In second place, we got Fernando Alonso. How did you rate his performance?
I also give him a 9. I know he was slightly slower off the line than Lewis due to his age. Don't know if you've seen that interview.
Yeah.
But battled back quite well to regain the position. Yeah, I don't know if it's him or the car or a mixture of both. Probably a mixture of both, but he's phenomenal at the minute, isn't he? He's definitely, at the minute, the best of the rest. So,
yeah, dude smashed it, didn't he? I've also given him a 9 out of 10. I thought, there was a bit of a poor start, but then he hunted Lewis back down again. Great overtake and great defense after that overtake, and then he just sort of managed that gap. I know Crofty and Brundle started getting quite excited when Lewis was closing the gap, and to be honest, I was watching it going, oh, Lewis is going to get him here.
That was only for the period where Alonso was coasting, though, wasn't it? Lifting.
Yeah, he was lifting and coasting for sort of. I think he was lifting and coasting for the whole sort of second half of the race. They clearly had some sort of issue. I think they were talking about it potentially being like a rear brake issue, weren't they? But he just managed that gap. Hamilton closed up and then dropped right away again. I'd have liked to see what would have happened if he didn't have that issue, because I wonder if he could have potentially taken the fight to Max. I think Max was cruising at the front, but
yeah,
it also, we know that Alonso was managing that issue. So yeah, I'd have liked to see what would have happened if he could have just put pedal to the metal and gone for it. But great drive. And another 9 out of 10 for P3. I've given Hamilton a 9 out of 10 because,
oh my God, same.
Thought he smashed it. Great weekend, and he looks. Do you know, not being the biggest Lewis fan, it's really nice. I'm starting to root for him to do well. It's nice to see him happy. It's really nice. I've missed it, and I didn't realize I'd missed it, especially when he was winning everything a few years back. But yeah, pretty flawless weekend, and then just cheerful chat back on the podium again. I didn't know if you caught his little comment where he was like, "It's nice to be up here with some world champions."
Yeah.
It's you've got a few yourself.
Yeah, Christ, that way you could. I think he said it was an iconic podium, which not half.
Spot on. Yeah.
I also give him a 9. Thought it was a great drive from him. I think he's really starting to find his feet now.
Yeah,
not find his feet.
He could be good one day.
I don't mean that. I mean find his feet, re-find his feet. Start to get maybe a bit comfortable. Maybe the Mercedes upgrades have actually, worked as they wanted them to work, which it feels like they have.
Yeah.
He's starting to get comfortable with the car again, and his class is starting to shine back through. Which, let's face it, we all knew it would. He would never have lost that forever. I completely agree, because I'm not the biggest Lewis fan myself, but I root for him, because just think, losing obviously the World Championship in the way he did, for anyone to come back from that with a smile on their face like he did, you've got to pat them on the back for that, and fair play to him.
Pure class. Isn't it?
Yeah.
What a guy. Fourth place, we've got Charles Leclerc. I just dragged him a bit, and I would, sort of without the silly sort of wheel of support, I still would, because I've given him a 6 out of 10, and I've just said because he had a poor quali, and Ferrari did a Ferrari again, and he said they went out and he said it's not really Inters, because I have the slicks, and they were like, no, just do a lap on the Inters anyway, because Max is on them. But other people did a lap on the Inters and got through, and Charles just didn't manage to put the lap together. So started P10, I think, after Sainz's penalty, but qualified P11. And then, it was just a bit of an anonymous recovery, really. He got decent points, but I don't know. I wonder what more could have been on the table if he'd have started at the front of the grid. I wonder if he'd have been right there in the mix with Hamilton and Alonso, because the Ferrari looked like it had decent pace. They didn't disappear, but he was just in sort of no man's land. So yeah, I gave him a 6. How did you rate him?
Quite interesting because I give him a 7, but I sort of seen it a bit differently to you. I thought it was an okay, considering where they've been.
Oh yeah.
I think it's a step. It's definitely a step in the right direction. It feels 4th isn't all that bad when you consider what's ahead of you, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it feels like I've seen it from a different light because I've actually put a lot better in my notes. Well, what have I put in my notes? Yeah,
Great strategy.
Pretty much that. For once, the Ferrari strategy was actually, it didn't end as car going boom.
Can we talk about that for a sec? Because Ferrari did a good strategy.
I know,
and
I wasn't being funny before. They did.
I feel like it must have been an accident.
I feel like they were trying to mess it up and in turn didn't.
Yeah, they messed up their own mess up because accidentally did a good strategy.
At the time when the safety car came out and most other cars dove into the pits and the 2 Ferraris just out, it was like, right, what have they done here? But,
So, interesting little tidbit of information from that is Ferrari did actually tell Charles to pit under the safety car, and he said no.
Oh, so it was him, it wasn't Ferrari. Yeah, Ferrari is still shit.
And then they told Sainz to pit, and I think we heard the radio on the broadcast, and Sainz was like, no, I'm good. And then didn't. So they did try to Ferrari it, but somehow they accidentally did a good strategy. And I think they probably got the drivers to thank quite a bit.
Maybe the moral of the story is listen to your drivers a bit more.
Come on, Ferrari. You can do it. The second Ferrari was Mr. Sainz, who for I think the second race in a row finished P5. I've given him a 5 out of 10. Because so it's a weird one because I actually think he was the faster Ferrari driver.
He has to get past a few times, didn't he?
Yeah, I think definitely through quali, he was sort of putting stuff together. Got qualifying together, got his lap through, and then in Q3 he was 8th, and then there was that red flag, and I don't know, he went out on track a little later, and I think only the first, I think it was only Verstappen and Hulk got 2 laps together. So I think if everyone had got 2 laps together, you'd have seen Sainz more, higher up. But then he did get a penalty for some horrendous blocking and probably attempted murder because
twice.
Yeah, and it's a weird one because as we've said before, Ferrari have kind of made a rod for their own backs because they are so stupid a lot of the time that you can't just be like, oh God, it's Ferrari being Ferrari. And yes, if they didn't, they should have told him. But also, I feel like if you're sitting at the end of a massive straight before the chicane to start your lap and you just plonk your car on the racing line or just off the racing line, you are asking for trouble. You shouldn't make that mistake, and you definitely shouldn't make that mistake more than once.
It's that position as well. The cars carry so much speed through that little right-left onto the main straight, which obviously is going to make or break your lap.
Yeah,
because you're going to carry so much speed through the line. So yeah, I actually give him a 5. Did you give him a 5?
Yeah.
So I give him a 5 for very much the same reasons. The race was a bit meh, and then I was going to give him a 6, but the race was a bit meh, and then the actions from him in quali knocked him down a point because it feels like schoolboy rookie stuff that.
Yeah,
and the kind of mistakes he shouldn't be making. It'd be interesting to see what I haven't caught up with what he said of the incident after the fact, but it'd be interesting to see what he thinks about that because if he tries to defend that in any way, he's a bit of a.
He did.
Fool.
He did. I wasn't super impressed, but he was basically saying, "Oh, everyone was blocking me," and it's like, "Oh, dude, come on, come on." I know that you can't. He's probably trying to say everything he can to not get a penalty, so you've got to kind of take a weird line there. But it was bad. I felt sorry for Gasly, who obviously will come on later, but he basically got his weekend ruined because of that. So, yeah. Sort of a great race, but not a great race from Ferrari. I just think that they could have been a bit higher up. But then talking about not great races, Sergio Perez, P6. How'd you rate him?
I gave him a 4.
Okay.
He got the fastest car on the grid, and he finished in 6th.
Yeah.
Not nowhere near good enough.
Yeah.
Not even he can't even see good enough. He's that far away from good enough.
He's just watched it drive off into the.
I think he's only like 9 points now ahead of Alonso.
Yeah.
Which is, I've got a feeling, will turn around very quickly. Massive pressure should be coming onto his shoulders now.
Yeah.
Because Red Bull can be quite ruthless when they want to be with drivers. And I get that Max is winning everything and doing everything. That's great. That's super. But he isn't. He's not helping.
I just don't know. Like, I feel like he keeps coming out with these interview statements where he's like refocusing on the championship and stuff. And it's like, dude, it's gone. Like,
honestly, I am not a betting man, right? I'm not. Obviously, Max is going to win, but if you said to me Max isn't going to win, who else is? I'd put it on Alonso.
Yeah,
100%. I wouldn't even think about Perez.
I kind of feel like I've got the same chances of Perez winning the championship, and I'm not a Formula One driver. It's a foregone conclusion unless Max is involved in some sort of horrific accident and has to miss about 10 races, and even then, still, you're right. Like. 9 points ahead of Alonso is poor when you look at what Verstappen's stringing together this season. I've given Perez a 3 out of 10. I've just said it's just not good enough. Like, I know Red Bull are going to comfortably win both championships, so maybe there's less pressure on Checo than there would be if it was tight. But yeah, like he couldn't even beat the Ferraris.
But on that, Red Bull aren't stupid. And yeah, they're going to win it. They're going to win it this season, but other teams are starting to improve.
Yeah.
So that constructors may come a bit closer when the likes of Mercedes, get their upgrades right, and Lewis is starting to perform, and Russell is also starting to perform. The Ferraris, like, if they're beating the other car, there's a good chance that next season the constructors is going to come down to a much shorter gap. And if they are thinking ahead, I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to get twitchy fingers down at Red Bull with him, because there's going to need to be. You can't, just because you're on top doesn't mean you can get complacent.
Yeah. And also there's another point that I was thinking about the other day, which is that there is, for someone so young and dominating so much in Formula One, Verstappen mentions retirement a lot. Like, he talks about, going on to do other things and how he doesn't want to stick around for a long time, and how after winning one championship, more is nice, but like you've kind of achieved the goal that you set out to achieve, and he's not really interested in like records and stuff like that. If Max were to hang up his boots at the end of this year, like I mean, yeah, you're Red Bull, you've got your pick of most people, but Perez ain't going to be a lead driver, and maybe you do need to try and get someone in who's going to at least hang with Max and at least be there. Because if you think about it, if Max has any issues this year, like we're assuming he's going to win most races, but if he has like a mechanical issue or whatever, Perez should be there to pick up the pieces, and he's not been. In the last like 3 or 4 races, he hasn't been there.
Which feels inevitable that he will at some point have at least one mechanical issue, surely.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right, he's going to be nowhere, and Alonso's going to win.
Yeah. It's like Alonso or Hamilton or even like one of the Ferraris could get that win, and Red Bull will not be happy with that. So yeah, not good again. And hopefully he can just, reset and just think about race by race and forget about the championship, because it's gone. It is gone.
Gone.
He finished 1 position ahead of Alex Albon in P7 in a Williams.
I gave him a 9.
I've given him a 10.
Oh, wow. Go on, I'll let you take the floor then.
I just can't, literally can't praise him high enough, and Williams by extension, because they had an amazing strategy in Q2. They were the only ones to go out straight on the softs. And it was a bit risky, but they absolutely nailed it, and he finished top of that session. It was really a shame he didn't get a lap in Q3, because he may have been able to start a bit higher, but then he literally finished best of the rest in a Williams.
Yeah.
Dude, he's good. He is good.
I haven't really got anything to say. To be honest, it's funny because I gave him a 9 and then I said it couldn't have done any better for me. So probably should have got a 10, really. But
You're gonna edit that?
maybe. Yeah, we'll give him a 10. Let's give him a 10. Couldn't have done any better, personally, for me. And he also found himself at the front of like a DRS train for quite a chunk of the race and still managed to hold his position, which fair play to you.
Yeah, just kept cool, didn't he? Just kept cool and held everyone back. Like, great drive. Ocon finished next, P8.
I gave him a 7.
Okay.
It was decent. I thought these decent performance building on a string of a couple of good performances now, dotted throughout the season. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, similar. I've given him an 8 out of 10. Decent result, but I think they'd have wanted more. Like, it was kind of mad that he did finish behind Albon. I know he was super close. He just couldn't get past that. That Williams is a rocket on the straights. I did think it was funny when we had the interview with Otmar, and he was like, "Yeah, we'll get Perez." Like, I mean, I like the ambition, but they did not. Sadly, spoilers. But yeah, solid 8 out of 10. Next, we've got Lance Stroll in P9. Now, you could go different ways with this, couldn't you?
I've gone away all right.
Yeah, I same. I feel like we've probably gone the same way. I've gone the sort of the shovel. Just poor weekend. 3 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Poor quali. P13. I don't think I think Aston tried their best with the strategy, and I think he just got caught out because he went for the undercut and then the safety car came out and he lost all the progress he'd made. And, you know, it was quite nice seeing him overtake Bottas to cross the line. But, I mean, come on, that car is getting P2 regularly with Alonso. You can't, like, it's the same thing with Perez. You can't just be qualifying outside the top 10 and just sort of languishing around in P9 for the race. It's just poor. And it's going to cost Aston massively in the constructors.
Yep. So, you know, I also give him a 3. Managed points only due to Russell and Lando's. Well, Russell's retirement and Lando's penalty. And it's the same. When you consider Alonso's putting her on the podium consistently, not good enough. If it was anyone else, he'd be under serious pressure now. And if he's still got a seat there, if he continues this kind of performances throughout the rest of the season, and has still got a seat next season, then there's only one reason why for me.
Yeah.
Because any other team, he'd be out.
Yeah. It's a weirdly unpressured seat that is suddenly going to get a lot of pressure because there's going to be a lot of eyes in Aston Martin going, hang on, constructors.
I've said it before, he's got the second safest seat in Formula 1.
I did like see something which I thought was quite interesting though on the flip side of that, which is he actually going to help Alonso out? Admittedly, the team, they're not going to, at this rate, they're not going to finish ahead of Mercedes in the constructors, and probably not Ferrari if they ever get their act together, just because of Stroll. But the lower the team are in the constructors, the more wind tunnel time they get, which then will obviously, hopefully have a correlation to performance and upgrades and things like that. So with Lance being awful, it could help Aston out.
Don't you think similar to the Red Bull thing with Verstappen possibly not staying around for very long? How long has Alonso got left?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then it's like, when he leaves, where is that team then?
Yeah.
Because no doubt that the car is a good car, but he's definitely outperforming the car as well. It's better than where Lance is putting it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's necessarily P2 good, but Alonso's bridging that gap. When he's not there, or when he, in a year or 2 years or even whatever, decides to retire, where is that then? They kind of need to think about the long term and get a second driver in. They're not going to get rid of Lance Stroll because of who the owner is, but any other team would be thinking, right, well, he's getting on a bit now. We're probably going to, where's the future because it's not Lance Stroll.
See, that's what I think's funny, because I think slightly differently to that. I think Alonso's going to be there as long as they will let him be there. Until his performance drops off, you'd literally have to like prise his hands off that steering wheel, because the dude's just, I mean, he's already retired and missed Formula One that much that he's come back again.
Well, that's absolutely fine. Then the other way is, well, then we need to give him a driver that can help him compete in the constructors as well.
Yeah, and also if it comes down to strategy, like I think one thing that we didn't see in this race that we could have seen is two Max versus Alonso, and then you get into that strategy thing where the team with two cars to play with can push you on strategy, and eventually probably win out over you. So yeah, not good for Stroll. He needs to pull his pants up a bit. In contrast to that, we've got Valtteri Bottas, who we have been routinely just dumping on all season long, and
rightly so.
Not without reason, because he has been phenomenally terrible, probably very unlucky as well. But just had no performances. He got P10.
So go on.
No, I've given him an 8. I've given him an 8 out of 10.
Nice.
I said, good weekend finally for him. Not a great quali in 15th, but solid race. And he did really well to get that car in the points. And to be honest, like, you got to feel really bad for him with Stroll just pipping him at the line. But he actually, there was a moment, oh God, I can't remember. Is it 2017, I want to say, where he overtook Stroll.
He pipped someone at the line, yeah.
On the line in Baku. So Stroll got his revenge there. But yeah, good weekend for Bottas.
Yeah, I gave him a 7. Didn't quite go as high as the 8th. But yeah, same, better from him. I think he did only get points because of Lando. Yes, a penalty. But still, you got to be there to pick up those pieces. And considering he's been in and around plumb last most races, improvement.
Yeah, solid job. Got a dog barking in the background. I don't know if you can hear him. P11, we've got Oscar Piastri. I've given him a 7 out of 10. Solid weekend. Obviously, he had that crash in Q3, caused the red flag. And then in the race, he made some really good moves, but I think he was a bit hard done by on the strategy. I couldn't really tell what happened, but it felt like he was up in the sort of lower part of the points, and then all of a sudden he just disappeared. Then he was stuck in that DRS train. Unlucky to not get points. How did you rate his weekend?
I give him a 6. And not much else to add. Beaten obviously by Lando on track, not taking into account Lando's penalty. Nice little battle with Lando. That Lando did eventually get the better of him. A bit more of experience, maybe. Yeah, that's about it really.
I just like that he's going for stuff.
Yeah,
like I'm excited to see him in a better car, and I know McLaren have got upgrades coming, because there's a good racer in there. I mean, obviously there is, but
he's one of the more ballsy rookies, isn't he?
He is, and he's just I don't know. He's like, I've not seen him make a move where I'm like, oh God, he doesn't seem to have made the typical kind of rookie errors, apart from maybe that crash in quali. So yeah, it'll be exciting to see him develop. Behind him, we've got Pierre Gasly in P12. How did you rate Gasly?
It was really hard to rate this weekend because everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Yeah.
Obviously retired in FP1, blocked by Sainz in quali, so out in Q1. And I think, did he pit a lap before the safety car? So lost out on the cheap pit.
Yeah, maybe.
I think he started on the softs.
Yeah, he started on soft tyres, which is a wild one.
So I'm sure he pitted, and then the next lap the safety car came out, which was, again, unfortunate.
Brutal.
I gave him a 5, but a lot of it's not his fault.
Yeah, I really struggled to rate him as well. I'm exactly with you. I've given him a 7. Just because I felt like he was really unlucky in the qualifying, and he did seem to have a lot of pace. Like Otmar reckoned he had pace for P6 in Q1. They started in 17th. And then it was just the strategy didn't work out, and then he was in DRS trains. But he did get up to 12th. he did move forward, but it's another one to forget, and it's a hard one for him because like I think he was driving well, but you know you don't get to see it. Behind him, Lando Norris finished P13. Lucky P13 for a lucky Mr. Norris. I have not rated him well. And it was a bit of a hard one because I actually thought he was driving brilliantly the whole weekend. Unlucky in quali, because I think he could have probably qualified higher than he did. Yeah, good overtakes, good battles. And then, I don't know, it's just a bit of a silly mistake to try and back people up under the safety car. I get what he's trying to do. He's trying to make sure that people don't jump him. Because McLaren were going to double stack and Piastri was ahead, but he held people back during the safety car. Got a penalty from unsportsmanlike behaviour. I think he finished P9 on track, did he? Or P8 even?
In and around that zone, yeah.
He was behind Ocon, so P9. And then dropped outside the points because of that penalty. So I don't know, kind of ruins all the progress that he made through the weekend. It was a bit of a silly mistake. So yeah, 4 out of 10 from me.
4. I give him a 5. And I said almost the same. So I actually think it was a really good drive that did deserve points for a lot of the weekend. I think he deserved to be in the points come the end of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like again, I know what he was trying to do when he backed them up. And maybe if he hadn't done it quite so, like, you know, like he was really obvious with that, wasn't he? Like the rest of them had just gone, and he was still halfway down that main straight.
He was like, I can't. I need to push the pedal.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Stuck in neutral. Yeah. Maybe if it wasn't so on the nose on another day, he gets away with it. Maybe. Not great.
Not good. P14, Tsunoda, my boy. 5 out of 10 from me. Just a bit anonymous.
That 5 out of 10 is favoritism.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't think he had a particularly horrendous weekend. He did get a grid penalty for blocking and stuff, but in fairness to him, I think when he had those issues, the one on Hulkenberg was a bit weird, but like issues in practice and stuff, it was wet. And if the team aren't telling you, you've got no idea. He did move forwards a bit, but AlphaTauri, the car is just, it's not good. I think he needed a crash or something to have any hope of points anyway. 5 out of 10.
I actually give him a 1. No, I'm just kidding.
You take that back right now.
I gave him a 4.
Yeah.
His worst qualifying result of the season.
Yeah.
And then, as you've just mentioned, the car just didn't have the pace to recover. So yeah.
Yeah. Not good. Poor old Hulkenberg's next in P15.
This is another tricky one to rate. I actually give him a 6, which is weird for someone who ended in 15th.
Okay. Well, if you think that's weird, wait till I've given him an 8.
You give him higher. So obviously an unbelievable performance in quali, done by maybe a harsh penalty, possibly. But to be fair to him, even if he'd have kept on to P2, I don't think the Haas quite had enough to finish in the points anyway.
No.
It would have given him a little bit more of a fighting chance, but not much of one. Yeah. So that's all I've got to say on that matter, really.
Yeah, I'm similar. I mean, I've rated him higher with an 8, but like I just said, he was great in quali and just put the lap together where it counted. But the car is so bad in the race. I think it just eats its tires.
Yeah,
and he also got shafted by pitting just before the safety car came out as well. It was another one of those. It's a tough one, that, because like it's almost like because of the strategy going wrong there and him pitting just before the safety car, he didn't even get a chance to see what he could have done from P5 where he started. It immediately dropped him down. And Magnussen was running in the points for a while. So yeah, just a bit of a brutal one. I think on the penalty as well, I believe that he was getting some like beeping in his ears during the red flag, and he was asking the team, what does it mean? Do I need to slow down or speed up? And I think the team, I haven't heard the actual conversation, couldn't find the clip of it, but I think the team were a bit unclear as to what he should do. So he ended up speeding. And I believe speeding under a red flag should get you a 10-place penalty. But I think the stewards in their document had said that they'd looked at it and they were like, it's not really, it's hard to penalise him massively there. So they were quite lenient, giving him a three-place drop. But yeah, there was no way he was going to hold on to points anyway. Not really. Maybe if he could have got himself stuck in a DRS train and just hung on, but like he wasn't doing an Albon.
No, he was not.
Shame. P16, Guan Yu Zhou. I've given him a 5. I just said he was a bit anonymous, really. Didn't see that much of him. The only thing I vividly remember is him driving out onto the track and going, oh, the car's broke, and then stopping, and then causing a red flag, and then getting the car going again.
Yeah. I give him a 4.
Yeah.
So possibly his worst weekend of the season so far. Started last, I think.
Yeah.
And managed to move up with the help of Magnussen and Nick de Vries going on a little adventure up the escape road.
Yeah.
But yeah, quite anonymous. Not more to say.
Yeah. It's a tough one, really, innit? Just didn't see that much of him. P17, Kevin Magnussen. I've given him a 6 because
okay.
I thought he was quite unlucky in quali because he didn't get the lap that Hulk managed, but he had a decent race. The team got the strategy right initially in the safety car. He moved up into the points, but then I think they were probably hoping for another one to be able to then pit him and keep him up in that position. Drop back, as we've mentioned, the Haas is pretty terrible in the race, and then De Vries just kind of ruined what little hope there was left. So I thought he drove well, and he was putting up a good defense and stuff. But again, it's hard to rate him much higher than that because the car's so bad. So 6 for me.
I gave him a 5 for much the same reasons. You can't. It's really hard to penalise the Haas drivers too much, given the machinery that they're working with.
And if they make a mistake, really, innit?
Yeah, and when you consider the weekend as a whole, what more are you after?
Yeah,
I suppose so. Yeah, 5.
Yeah, fair dues.
Now Nick de Vries.
Do you want to go first on this one? P18.
Go on then. I give him a 2.
I've given him a 0, mate.
Wow.
How do you rate him? I don't want to be too harsh on him, but we're gonna be because we're 8 races in to the season, and I'm just hopeless.
Yeah, I've got another very poor performance. It was his fault, obviously. The K-Mag ended up backwards in an escape route.
Yeah.
Last of the finishers, still no points, and then I've just got at the end out of his league.
Yeah, it's just I feel Piastri as a rookie is impressive. Sargent has not been, but he's had that weird little flash of speed. I've not seen anything from De Vries that's made me go, oh, there's a good driver in there somewhere. Now, I'm not an amazing judge of drivers, but you finally saw him. No, exactly. You finally saw him going wheel to wheel with someone. And yeah, K-Mag did hang it around the outside, and he deserved room. And De Vries just didn't give him any, ran him off the road. Lost a place to Russell, lost a place to Magnussen, and then sent it back down the inside, and then just messed up his braking and took both of them. I say took both of them out. It wasn't a crash, but Magnussen couldn't turn in because De Vries was just sliding down the escape road on his inside. It's just no pace, no consistency, and really poor racecraft. I just don't understand what he's doing there.
No,
if I'm honest,
I don't think he'd be there next season.
No, I hope not, because I feel like if he was a rookie, he'd maybe be more understanding, but he's got experience in racing series.
He's 28 or something.
Top level. Yeah, I say top level. Yeah, he is. He's he's older than Max, isn't he?
Yeah.
So you're just kind of like, oh, like what? He's never going to be in a Red Bull, so why is he there? Like at this point, he's just a seat warmer for someone else.
Yeah,
and it's harsh, but it's true. I'm sure he's good, but like maybe in a different category or something. This just doesn't. I don't know. It's just going to massively like shatter all his confidence, and I feel for him in a way, but like he's just not putting any performances in that make you go, oh, there's something. The only memorable things from him are just bad performances.
Yeah,
this year. So yeah,
zero.
zero.
Agree. Zero. Wow.
Yeah, first one. I don't think I've done a zero before, but
yeah, I think it is.
Had to pull out that card for this one. P19, we've got George Russell. He was like tough to rate, I think, for this race. I've given him a 3 out of 10. And my reasoning being that he was very good in quali. And he looked okay in the race. He was dropping away from Hamilton and Alonso at the start. And then I think he just started to try and push. And then he just headbutted the wall. Just like he lost it all by himself. Bounced over the curb and then just smacked into the wall and then limped the car back. Managed to get it back.
Yeah, so it was a good recovery drive after that.
Yeah, and he had a decent recovery drive, but eventually the damage from the wall caused him to retire. And so I've got to rate him, lower on that because he could have been, if not on the podium, P4 minimum. So yeah, 3 out of 10. How did you rate his performance this weekend?
A 4.
Okay, yeah.
With nothing to add, really. You've covered everything there.
Similar, yeah. And then rounding out the 20 drivers on the grid again, because he likes to place his P20, Mr. Logan Sargent.
Yeah, what did I give him? I give him a 2. I think he retired due to a mechanical fault, which, yeah, okay, it's not his fault. But, like, yeah, know, he still didn't really show anything in the short time he was in the race. That he was going to do anything whatsoever. And I think it's weird because at the start of this season, we spoke about it, that he was one of the more exciting rookies. He's not. No, he's not. He's another one who I think is slowly starting to give us all the realization that he might be a tad out of his league. Yeah.
I've given him a 1 out of 10, and for the exact same reasons. In my notes, I've said he was at this race apparently.
Yeah.
At least, and you mentioned it as well, but at least the retirement wasn't his fault.
Yeah,
that's all you can say about it.
You can't blame that on him.
Just kind of used to seeing him lower down. Like in it, I'll try and defend him a little bit. It would have been interesting to see what he could have done on a track that clearly suits the Williams more. Looking at Albon's result, I don't think he was getting points, but I also don't think he was going to be P20. Unless, don't know, he drove anywhere near De Vries or just made a mistake himself. Yeah. So that's all the 20 drivers.
That started off really well and then got a bit sad.
Just got a bit depressing towards the end. The Grand Prix as a whole, how did you rate this Grand Prix?
I give it a 6.
Okay.
It was alright.
Yeah.
Nothing major happened. Max won.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Alonso came second. And Lewis got third. So,
They did.
That was nice.
They did. That was good.
It's nice seeing them on the podium. Other than that, there's not really much that happened in the race, was there?
Yeah. It's a funny one, isn't it? Because it's funny how different people get different things out of the races depending on, I don't know, maybe just what you're watching for or kind of what you're invested in and things like that.
The bird bit was exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. And Max's little moment where he bumped over the curb and then went, I nearly knocked myself out over the curb. And then just carried on. It's like he's just commentating himself now. It's funny, yeah. I rated it an 8. I actually thought it was probably on a par with Monaco for me in terms of enjoying it. I actually really enjoyed the weekend because I think obviously we think about the race, but also you've got quali and it was just quite varied, quite cool. Yeah, the qualifying sessions was mad, and that was very enjoyable to watch. Very, yeah. Sadly, it ended on a bit of a flat note in Q3 when it started raining towards the end and no one improved. But it was exciting up to that point. And then I felt like there was sort of decent action through the race. There weren't millions of overtakes, but that's all right. We know that doesn't, overtakes don't equal a good race. I thought it was fun how the strategy was a bit unknown because essentially, due to the rain in practices and quali, they hadn't really been able to do much testing in the dry. I thought it was fun how you've got Albon managing to make a one-stop work, but most of the others two-stopped, and you had a variety of tyres going on. And yeah, if you can't tell through this episode, I just really like the Canada circuit as a whole. I think it's cracking. So yeah, that was
I hope not.
That was the rating. Well, it's apparently it's the. Did you hear about the temperature differences between winter and summer in Canada? I think it probably is cracking.
Yeah,
because was it a 60-degree swing or something? Brundle was talking about. You regularly see pictures of that circuit covered in snow, and then come the summer it's baking. So yeah, but enjoyable weekend.
It was. I still enjoyed it. It wasn't a bad 6. It was a good 6.
Yeah. It was closer to a 7 than a 5.
Yeah, definitely.
If that works, which it doesn't because we're not doing decimals. But anyway, cool. Well, that was a Grand Prix, and that was a pod as well. We have smashed that one out. I think we've got a week off now, and then we're back to Austria, the Red Bull Ring, for a sprint weekend, which should be good. Looking forward to that. But yeah, it's been fun.
Love the Red Bull Ring.
It's a great track, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's quality.
And it holds a special place for me because it's the first track I ever drove on a sim.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
it's almost like your little home circuit.
Kind of, yeah.
And you are a small Red Bull fan as well. If no one I know you don't publicly advertise it much, or at all, really. I mean, only the most eagle-eyed of sort of people watching this, and sadly, if you're listening to this, you won't know. But only the most eagle-eyed people watching this would know.
Cut me, I bleed red. Bull.
That's just for having a newborn baby and a bit of lack of sleep, mate.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Well, we'll leave that episode there. Again, to everyone for listening and watching, thank you very much for tuning in. Let us know what you thought of our new feature, the Wheel of Support.
We had a good time doing it, so
I quite enjoyed it. Part of me is very tempted to just replace driver ratings with that from now on.
Yeah.
But let us know what you thought, and we will see you next week for an off-week episode, and we'll try and if there's anything you'd like, there's anything you'd like us to talk about, send us a message, drop us a comment, let us know. If not, we'll waffle about something.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Ciao.
See you then.